What's going on, everybody? Kendall here with the Wealthy Legacy Journey. Thanks so much for being here. I'm really excited to talk to you guys here day after Thanksgiving, which is super cool. So, if anybody is hearing this the Monday after Thanksgiving, hopefully you are, at work and awake and feeling good, not in a food coma. But neither here nor there. We had a great Thanksgiving yesterday. Everybody's chilling right now, and it was a great time to be able to record this episode. And for me, this is just one of the dedicated things I'm doing every single week. So I knew I was gonna have to get this plugged in somewhere, and it was like right now is the best time to do it. So I want to make sure I got this episode out to you guys. And with that said, happy Thanksgiving. Now, before I go too far into the episode today, I wanted to clarify something that basically I had mentioned last week. The hashtag I would talking about the Jewish people, and really it's referring back to the way I understand it, World War II and the Holocaust, and really referring back to like the people that would, help the Jews in those moments, saying, hey, if something like that ever happened again, would you help the Jews? And, the hashtag I would is that I would be there to help those people. That's how I understand it. And so that's why I believe in a hashtag I would, right? But I wanted to clarify because every week after I put out the episodes, I don't listen to the episode and then go, okay, I need to edit this and this and that, and then re-record it and re-record it and re-record it because honestly, I found a lot of advantages in just getting out there, and whenever you're ready to rock and roll with an idea, you just got to start implementing, right? And so right now, I don't have the budget or hire somebody to do that. I don't have the time personally to record episode over episode, and I probably wouldn't. Like, this is way more authentic this way. But when I went back and I listened to that specific portion, I thought, I felt like I didn't do a good job of clarifying what I meant, or explaining my deep care and sadness for the people that are caught up in this conflict. Um, so just to clarify, I right now am praying for all the people affected by this conflict within the region, caught between Hamas and Israel. I think about, man, if my family was in the middle of that conflict right now, like I wouldn't even know what I would do. I feel devastated for these people that they're caught in the middle of this. To be honest, I'm praying for peace and unity and resolution among broken men in this broken world. That there could be harmony restored, and that those homes and families could be restored to some degree. Like, I know there's been a lot of destruction, um, and the horrific things that come with war, but basically that things could come to an end, and we could begin rebuilding instead of continuing to destroy. For me, a big prayer is that all men of every nation, tribe, and tongue would come to know Jesus in the way that I do know him, and the way that I'm blessed to know him. And I also pray that the Jews, the Israelites, they would be able to be proper ambassadors of the Lord, that in their relationship with the Lord, they would come to personally know and be able to reflect Jesus, right? And they're reflecting Jesus into the world for all the people near and far, including Hamas. And so that's my prayer. Like, basically, I if people were persecuting the Jews, like I would hope that I would stand up for the Jews, right? But if people were persecuting any other people group, even if it was just like at work, somebody was getting picked on, like I try to stand up for that person. Like, I don't like bullies. And I don't like, and I'm not necessarily saying that, I'm not getting the politics of that specific situation to say if that's like bullies or not, but I don't like to see somebody getting pushed down and oppressed. Um, and so I want to help. Like, I have a huge, huge heart to love, to help, to love on people, to care for people. And so what's happening over there is tragic, and it breaks my heart. And so I'm praying for all the people over there that are involved in the middle of that situation, and really just praying for rest and unity and resolution over that whole situation. And I pray that the record of my life and my legacy would reflect that desire to bring unity and harmony and care and provision to people all among the earth. Um, and then also be able to reflect the Lord in what I do. So with that said, I'm going to move on from that. But I felt that was important to clarify what I said last week, because I went back, listened to the episode, and I thought I could do a better job of communicating that point. With that said, first thing I want to jump into is mindsets. Now, for a long time, I've said this phrase, probably for a little over a year now. I've said this phrase: it's better to quote unquote lose money than it is to actually lose money. And I've been saying that while we've been building this algorithm, and we're getting very close on that. I'm sure you guys have heard me say that many times, and you're going to keep hearing me say that. What does it mean to actually very close? I don't know. Ask my wife for the last 2.5 years what that means, because I've been saying, hey, we're close, and then we're very close, and we're getting really, really, really close. But sometimes in these projects, like, you just don't know exactly how long they're going to take. It's taken way longer than I thought. 2.5 years ago when we started, I thought it was going to take 6 months. And, here we are 2.5 years later, or coming, I guess we're not really 2.5 years. We're little over 2 years, but it'll probably be 2.5 years before we go live. A couple more months of trading, and I'm hopeful that we'll go live here in like next March. But it's been a journey. Anyways, with that mindset though, I've said that in a sense of, hey, it's better to practice and understand what you're doing, right? Than it is to just go, hey, let's just try it and see what happens, and then lose the shirt off your back, which so many people do in stocks. And a lot of people do in real estate too, because they just go, you have some people who are afraid to ever make a decision. And I don't want them to take that saying of it's better to quote unquote lose money than it is to actually lose money and go, well, if you're listening to me in any sort of capacity going, well, Kendall said this, so basically what he's saying is it's better to like keep my money in the bank and not spend it, because it's better to, keep that money safe than it is to risk losing it. And that's not what I'm saying at all. Like, I 100% believe in investing money. I've lost pretty much all my capital twice over. I'm on my third time rebuild. I don't think that that's a right way to do it. So look at that as a reflection of what not to do. Hopefully this time around, I can show a better example of how to do this the right way. But with that said, you cannot let those adversity moments in life scare you from moving forward. So there's really two mindsets. There's a gambler mindset and there's an investor mindset, and there's a scarcity mindset, right? And so we definitely don't want to have the scarcity mindset. But if you're a person who's like, okay, I'm definitely going to put my money out there, okay, then you got to figure out what mindset are you going to put your money out in the market with. Is it going to be a gambler mindset or an investor mindset? Now, here's a gambler mindset. A gambler mindset is it's better to consistently lose less money than it is to randomly lose more money. And when I say that, and that might not make a ton of sense, but basically it's better to lose like $5 every single week on a lottery ticket than it is to not buy a lottery ticket and potentially lose out on these massive profits that could happen, right? But it's completely random, right? As far as like when you would make that money. And in fact, I was looking at some statistics, and apparently in the lottery, $230 per year per person is the average money spent on the lottery every year. Then I went over to Investopedia to get some data as far as the likelihood of winning the lottery. And check this out, guys. This is a quote from Investopedia. It's an article written by the Investopedia team, reviewed by Pamela Rodriguez, fact checked by Vicky Velasquez. I apologize if I pronunciated that wrong. Here it goes. Feeling lucky? You'd better be if you play the lottery. No matter which game you play, you have some pretty long odds. For example, the odds of claiming the jackpot on a Powerball drawing are 1 in 292.2 million. To put this in perspective, you have a 1 in 1.2 million chance of death or injury from lightning in a given year. So that is 1 in 1.2 million on the lightning versus 1 in 292.2 million. That is like almost probably somewhere in the ballpark of like 250 times. Like, there's like almost a zero chance of getting struck or injured from lightning in a single year. And then you multiply that by like 250 times, and there's your chance of winning the lottery. So talk about like, yeah, you're putting a little bit of money in, but talk about long odds to be able to make the lottery. And there's a couple other stats in there that are really interesting. But the point that I want to get at is like, that's a really dangerous mindset. Like, that's not investing. That's totally gambling. I don't actually know how much a lottery ticket costs, and I don't want to know because I don't buy them. Like, I don't believe in games of chance, games of luck. In fact, I am terrible at games of chance and games of luck. We play this dice game sometimes called Farkle, and I absolutely hate it because Libby will crush me. And for some reason, I am absolutely terrible with games of chance and luck. But what I do love is the game of investment. Now, this is the investor mindset. And so I would say take that gambler mindset of, oh, well, if I put a little bit of money in trying to get that massive payday, like, throw that out of your mind, because you're literally just throwing money away, right? You might as well just flush it down the toilet, okay? But investor mindset it's worse to consistently, quote unquote, lose more money than it is to randomly lose less money. So in this, what I'm saying is if you have money sitting in your bank account, let's just say right now you've got $20,000 sitting in your bank account, and you know that you could take that $20,000, and if you invested, don't pay a guru everything that you have, but if you had that money and you invested a couple $1,000s into some sort of training with somebody, I've paid for a lot of education. I probably paid for, I don't know, up to this point, I've paid for at least $50,000 worth of education. And that's not college. I don't have a college degree. Like, I don't mean college. I mean like business education from different people. And I will continue to pay a lot of money for my own education and furthering myself, but it's not 100% of everything. The majority of my capital goes back into investments. So then let's say that you took, a little bit, like you listened to my stuff for free, or you went and, paid somebody else or did whatever. I don't know what we might have put together in the future. But you got some right coaching, right? And then you got in the right steps, and you took, maybe let's say 5,000 into coaching, and then $15,000 into investments. And let's say you decided you were going to do tax sales. And there's some really cool people out there who teach, like, their thing is tax sales, right? My thing will probably not be tax sales specifically in a loan. There's people out there who have training courses and classes on tax sales. And so if you could learn how to take 15,000 and turn it into 30, and then turn 30 into 60, and then maybe even turn 60 into 120, and then at a point you're probably going to start tapping out how far the tax sales can go. I don't really know. We're going to find that out together over 2024. But with that said, don't let it just sit there in the bank. And this isn't a gambler's mindset, right? I'm saying lean into the investor mindset. So flipping lots at a tax sale, investing in real estate, flipping companies, investing in growing companies in the stock market. You understand how to evaluate companies. Like, you've educated yourself, you understand how to value stuff, and hey, if I buy low and sell high, that's the winning game of investing. And so you're looking for deals where you buy low and you maybe put some value in it, or maybe you just have to wait for it to appreciate or whatever it is, and then you sell high. But once you have the right level of education, that becomes almost a guarantee, right? And so that's why I say it's worse to consistently lose more money, right? Because think about however old you are, what are some massive money-making opportunities that other, big investors have been able to make, or even I've been able to make, that you sitting on the sidelines have not been able to capitalize and take advantage of because, you've been just concerned about spending your money. And so in all reality, you're so scared of losing a little bit of that, of your funds, that you really hold yourself from all of this potential gain, right? But again, it's not gambling. It's not a 1 in 292.2 million chance that you're going to go into investing and figure it out. Like, none of my family's in business and none of my family's in investing. I went out and I figured out how to do this myself. The first thing I bought was a wholesale course by Cody Sperber, and then I've done a bunch of other things since then. And I've done JVs and partnerships, and I've worked for people and I've worked with people, and sometimes some seasons really, really suck. I can't say the season that I'm in right now is necessarily one of my most favorite business seasons ever, but I'm learning a ton of stuff, and it's awesome in that regard, right? Like, the education, the understanding, the knowledge is worth way more than the dollar, because I know what I can do with that knowledge long term. Okay, so there's so many. I just really want you to open up your mindset in that space. And I'm sure a lot of people who are listening to this are already thinking that way. But if you're listening to maybe this episode right now, but you're still hesitant and you're not really sure how to move forward on the investing, probably it's a mindset thing. Probably you need to get with a coach who can train you up in the right way so you can gain confidence. I've been listening to a lot of Andy Elliott's stuff. He's a really cool sales dude. This past week, he's got me some awesome results just listening to his free content on YouTube. If you're in sales, or you're doing any sort of like acquisitions or anything like that, make sure you listen to Andy Elliott's stuff, because it's off the charts, awesome stuff. He's got some language. I don't believe in personally communicating with such language in what I do and how I communicate. So just be aware of that. But the points that he's communicating are really powerful. But one of the things that he says is that competence is confidence. And so basically having a deeper understanding only makes us better at what we do. And I say the same thing applies in investing. Competence is confidence. And so if you're scared to move forward on investing, right, then I would say, hey, it's probably one of two things holding you back, right? It's either the idea of investing, which it probably isn't that, right? Because you're sitting here, you're listening to this right now. You do believe that, hey, there are people who invest and they do get ahead. You just got to figure out how to do it for yourself. And that's the thing you're unsure of. So now you have to invest into your education to increase your competence to create more confidence. Right. And I'm not giving you a sales pitch to like invest with me. At the time of this recording, I don't even have a way for you to invest with me, except for your time listening to this on a podcast or watching YouTube videos. But there's lots of amazing courses and people out there who can teach you great things, right? I've gone through courses on creating funnels and all that sorts of stuff, like in creating like a business and all that kind of stuff. And I was in the 2 Comma Club for about a year with Russell Brunson. I've gone through Andy Elliott's training now, some of his free stuff. I'll probably end up in one of his coaching mentor programs to just help me progress and become better and better at what I do. I've done some Cody Sperber stuff. There was a tax sale group that I was looking into, going through some of their free stuff. If the tax sales continue to work, I might go through some of their paid stuff to learn how do I scale that up, right? And I'm going to learn from them. I've gone through Bridger Pennington's funnel. It's like funnel hack, funnel, not funnel. It's funds, fund launch live. And his name is Bridger Pennington. He does funds. And so when we were looking into building a fund for Algorithmos, I was looking into that, and we're still looking into that. And that one was another free one. So there's lots of free stuff out there that people will give you a free gimme. Lots of free content out there. And then if you want to go deeper, then you do have to pay. But if you leverage the knowledge that you learn from that, like, you'll get paid out. Now, here's what I'd say is just walking out of education slowly. So I listened to quite a few of Andy Elliott's videos before I was finally like, you know what, I want to go a step deeper. And so I went into his funnel and I bought a book. And for me personally, I don't buy the upsells. I don't buy the one-time offers and all that kind of stuff. I know, because I've gone through the funnel training, I know what is happening there. And for me, I just want the book because I want to go one step further. And then I'm going to read the book. And if I decide after reading the book that there's some awesome content there that I want to take my relationship with Andy Elliott another step deeper, then I will do so at that point. So figure out what it is that you want to get good at, right? And then just start taking the steps forward that you need in order to gain more competence. Working with somebody one-on-one, doing coaching, mentoring, that's probably going to be the most expensive level of education. It's probably going to also get you to your final destination the fastest. But if you're not ready for that kind of investment, like getting somebody's book, going through their free PDFs, going through their free, YouTube videos, or any of that kind of stuff, is probably a great step to go from where you're at to where you want to go. It's a great step in the next direction. So for me, this is kind of my next note here, though, that like, speaking of mindset and mental stuff, like every week is honestly a mental battle to hold on. I'm working hard to be the best that I can be in what I'm doing right now. I'm working hard to try to have a strong mental attitude about what I'm doing right now and working with the team that I'm working with. And don't get me wrong, it's not like they're a bad team. I'm struggling to work under the team. I'm struggling with some of the ways that they operate. I feel like there's definitely some inefficiencies in the way that they operate and they handle business. But then there's also some things that they're more efficient. And I've learned some things already from how they handle things. And so nobody's going to be perfect. I know I'm going to own a company here pretty soon. When I say pretty soon, probably in the next like year or two, I'm going to be back on my own feet. And in my company, there's going to be some inefficiencies. There's going to be things that I could do better, right? And so I want to continue to improve, but it has been a struggle, right? And to make it to the end of each week honestly feels like a huge accomplishment. And this is the first time in years that I've had moments of feeling like this, like almost hating what I do at times. But I just have to keep reminding myself, like, if I take the right steps now, this won't have to be forever, right? And it's interesting because this last week, Libby and I have done a ton of budgeting stuff, and I'll talk to you guys here about this in just a little bit, about some of the budgeting stuff that we're redoing. But basically, I think a lot of people out there, they dislike what they do from week to week, and they don't maybe appreciate some of the things about their life, and they wish their life could be better. And so their way to solve that problem is to go into debt. And they're like, well, if I just go into debt and I can enjoy myself in the evenings, I enjoy myself on the weekends, like, I've earned this. And unfortunately, it's like, no, you haven't. Like, you haven't. But what I'm going to show you over 2024 is how to take, we basically make the average. I think they call it the mean. I can't remember if it's the median or the mean, so excuse me for not knowing my dictionary of math terms there, but the average, basically, income for Texas for a home. And so I want to show you guys how I'm going to allocate those resources. As you guys know, the last few months I've been on this aggressive journey to pay off the debt. Libby and I both have, not just me. And that gets paid off here in less than 30 days, which I am so pumped, guys. So pumped. We are almost done. Starting January 1st, 2024, outside of our mortgage, which we're going to wait for later to pay that off, according to the Dave Ramsey way, I'm going to be debt free and we're going to be investing aggressively. And you guys are going to be with us for step by step on that journey. And I'm super excited to take you along in that. But with that said, we're having to make some massive cuts. But for me, I don't love what I do. So I am, instead of letting that fuel me to a point where it's like, well, I'm going to purchase things that I can't really afford right now because I've earned it and I should have the right to drive a new car, even though it's on payments and all this, and, buy stuff on a credit card, even though it's on payments and this and that. I'm going to lock my budget down. With the help of the Lord, we're going to get there. It's going to be tough. But, basically I'm going to make money. And then with that, I get to have fun because that's money that I've truly earned. I'm not going to go into debt into somebody else to get what I want. I'm going to build my own storehouse here. And if I take the right steps, being in this job won't have to be forever. It could be. Maybe you love what you do, and that's awesome. But then you would have the freedom to be able to do anything else you ever wanted to. And if the job situation changed or anything like that, or you could just stay in that job forever, but you still get the opportunity to build a legacy at the same time. But if you don't enjoy what you're doing right now, that's okay, because you and I are now in the same boat. I'm in this with you. I totally get the feeling that you're feeling because I feel it right now. So let's do this together. Okay. Let's get a hold of our finances. Let's create a budget so we tell our money where to go, not sitting back at the end of the month wondering where our money went. Thank you for the quote, Dave Ramsey. But let's get this thing straightened out. I started realizing too, though, like for me as a Christian, one of my number one purpose is ministry and everything that I'm doing, and I've really started to lose sight of that. And I can say that specifically because I realized, like, I haven't been praying for any of the guys on my team at all. And so this week I started praying the Lord would give me favor among men, and that the Lord would just bless each of the guys specifically by name on my team. Multiple of them not knowing the Lord and going, that's my number one, like what I need to be doing is being a light in my workplace. And I've really failed at that so far over the last month in this position. But I want to start being more aggressive and effective with my ministry as I'm doing what I'm doing. I've really lost, sight of that. And Libby and my 2023 goal is really to be able to come back to a deep and intimate place with the Lord, like we were right before we got married. Basically, we got married, and then all these financial pressures hit, and then we started having kids, and life just seemed to get so busy. And I was in ministry at that time, and there was a couple of situations that happened that really hurt me from that time. And so I didn't step away from the Lord, but my relationship was not near as deep as what it was. And over this past year, the Lord's really brought me back to a place of depth when I asked Him to. It's been step by step and step gradual. But then this is just kind of one of the most recent things, is realizing, like, man, I am not living out my ministry well in my business. And so I'm working on that. Really, when Libby and I were looking at our budget, once our debt was paid off, like, we were basically planning to live the total American budget, both money wise, time wise, not giving to where it counts, not being purposeful and intentional. And it's interesting, though, I got this quote, and so it was actually Andy Elliott talking on a video, and he quoted Tony Robbins, who was quoting Richard Bunnell. I'm not sure how to pronounce that one. So it's Andy quoting Tony, quoting Richard. But Richard Bunnell said, it's not about who you are, it's about where you're going. And I thought, wow, that's so good. Like, especially because this is the wealthy legacy journey. And I'm so excited that in this series, you guys are starting off with me really not at ground zero, because obviously I've had the past decade to get where I'm at right now with what I know, but really to start at ground zero financially. I mean, literally being in debt, having no cash, and then starting from zero. And we're going to build our way all the way up. And y'all are going to get to see that week by week, week in, week out, how that looks, what I'm struggling with, all the way from ground zero as far as like having a job and everything. And so I just think that's awesome. And I'm excited to see how the Lord uses this. But That was powerful when I saw that. About it's not about who you are right now, it's about where you're going. So you have to decide where you're going and be dedicated to getting to that destination. Another thing, this was a quote specifically by Andy Elliott that he said himself, is that you have to kick your butt every single day. And he's an aggressive sales guy, and I love some of his stuff. But you know, I've really been just getting into his content and realizing, like, yeah, I really do. Like, instead of sitting here going, like, man, this job's really tough, and the leads that I was getting before and the land deals, they were just different. I had to really sit back and go, okay, after a couple of weeks, and really being able to look at like 4 weeks of data, is it me or is it the leads, right? Because there's another guy who was closing more leads than I was, and so I went out there and I got aggressive by getting into training and seeing who can teach me how to do better what I'm trying to do right now. And then this last week, I ended up closing the most deals for the week, which was awesome. I think I closed the most deals for the week. It was either tie or I closed the most. But anyways, I went back up where I needed to be, and it's because I got out of my comfort zone and I got it in my own way. And I said, you know what? There must be something out there that I don't know. So let me go increase my education. So for real, guys, like if you're struggling in whatever you're doing, get out there and increase your education. And the reason that I've been watching these sales videos by Andy Elliott is because I'm trying to live out my personal life motto, my mission statement. And my mission statement says, I will accomplish the impossible within my lifetime. But if I accomplish the impossible, that means that I have to start where other people have reached, that they've already done the impossible. I have to go beyond that. So that means I have to learn from others with the help of the Lord, leaning on Him, while also making my family feel like a constant top priority. My journey will consist of strong steps instead of unbalanced leaps in my path towards new heights. So with that said, I was struggling to figure out how to nail this type of sale, this type of pitch that I'm going through right now for the specific acquisitions job that I'm working right now. And so I had to figure out, what is my next strong step into the future? And for me, that was, I need to get educated on how to do what I'm doing right now in the best, most effective way possible. And so I got into that. I started studying it, and I've really started figuring it out and then implementing it. And instead of assuming, man, that's kind of weird what he said, like, I don't think I'd like to do that, and like piecemealing it apart, I've literally just taken everything and gone, you know what? I'm already not closing deals. So I basically practiced it as many times as I could until it was fluid and it sounded not like robotic, but it was coming from me. And I put my own little twist, my own little stories on it, but I did everything that he said to do, and everything has been effective. And I've been able to just crush it with the help of the Lord, but also getting outside my comfort zone and taking strong steps in the right way forward. Within every opportunity I have, I'll look for ways to improve my abilities for future growth. Boom, again, living out my mission statement in doing that while impacting the people around me in a powerful way by bringing desired, authentic, and measurable value to the team or group I am serving. Right now, by closing more deals and bringing Andy Elliott's content to the team, I am bringing desired, authentic, and measurable value to the team and group that I'm serving. Whether my role is as a peer, subordinate, or as a commander, I will be a humble leader. I will be the most dedicated and interdependent tortoise within a world saturated by inconsistent and independent hares. I'm trying to be dependent on training, dependent on my team, trying to be consistent in what I'm doing, taking the right steps forward. And that is why I'm watching the Andy Elliott videos. And I hope that you guys watching this are watching these videos and getting encouraged and getting excited. And I hope you guys do some investing. And I hope that this is helping you guys to really take the next step forward. Like, for real, to get consistent with whatever it is that you're doing, to be interdependent, to be consistent, to be the tortoise, to get where you want to go. And so I want to tell you guys, it is going to take sacrifices to get where you want to go in this journey. Okay, so me and Libby, this last week, we really sat down and we completely revised our 2024 budget. So again, we make just under the average household income. I'll look it up right now just to make sure that I'm not telling you anything incorrect. So I'll say average household income in Texas. Okay. So this says the average household income on this specific, this is actually dated back, so let's say 2023, because that was, so median is the middle. I think mean is the average. So I want to find the mean. It's just pulling up median and mean. So Google that. Sorry. Give me just one moment here, and I will find this for us. Let's see. Anyways, I read something the other day. The mean household income, I'm struggling to find it right now. I don't want to take too much time. I should have already had this chart pulled up, and I apologize. But I read that the mean household income in Texas was $102,000 and some change. And so we make just under that as a household. And so I was like, okay, that's perfect. And so if you make a little bit less than that, you're gonna have to figure out how to add more value. You're gonna have to figure out how to maybe crunch it down more, whatever you have to do to be able to get your income up, right? In order to be able to start a nest egg and then get that snowball rolling. Okay. So with Dave Ramsey talks about this debt snowball. Well, we're talking right now about a wealth snowball. So we've aggressively paid off our debt outside of our mortgage in 2023, following the Dave Ramsey's baby steps. So if you're trying to figure out like where to start in this investing journey, and you're looking for maybe like a teacher to guide you, right? Like a sensei almost, then if you've got a bunch of debt and you're figuring out how to go forward, Dave Ramsey might not be a bad place to start getting out of debt so you have cash flow freedom in order to invest. Okay. This included for us, so this last year, I sold my nice truck and now I'm driving this little car. It was a part of the steps, a part of the process that we had to go through. So in 2024, we are going to tithe 10% of our income, right? And then we are also going to give an additional 10% of our income to some awesome missionary families that we know. So 20% off the top of our income immediately gone. Tithe and giving to missionaries. And that was a really big commitment for me. But to be honest with you guys, the reason I went ahead and committed to that is because I've made big money a couple times now, and it's never been the right time to give. And so I just kind of had this light bulb moment of like, I'm never going to feel like I have enough to where it's time to give if I don't start giving right now. So we're giving right now, and we're going to give a big chunk away right now, and we're going to start giving that away every single month. And I consider those missionaries to be a part of my team, right? So I'm going to keep making sure that I produce in order to take care of my team, because I got to keep food on the table for my family and for their family. And so that's just me getting used to and ready for that responsibility. We're also going to be investing about 27% of our monthly income into investments every single month. 27%. So because we're debt free, this gives us a lot of freedom and flexibility, but we're also really decreasing our budget and really living within much tighter means. 10% to tithe, 10% to giving, almost an additional 30% to investing. Half of our money immediately gone. Okay. So let's say that you're not giving to the same degree of aggressiveness. For me personally, which with my faith, I'd recommend always doing the 10% tithe. But hey, if you've got to slim down on what you're doing for the 10% to missionaries right now while you get your income up, invest as much income as you can. Okay, guys? And so for me, that's roughly in the ballpark of about $2,000 a month. It just depends on exactly where things are at. But that's going to be like my investing budget that we put into investing every single month without fail. Okay. We also have a small emergency fund which we're going to be building. We're going to be contributing about $200 a month to that as well for just little emergencies. So if it's like something small, we don't have to dip into our investments that month. We can just pay for it out of that. If it's something big, then we'll have to decrease on the investments. When I say emergency, I mean like cars broken down, tire is literally falling apart, like emergency, not like, oh man, oh, it was just a really busy week and I just had to go out to dinner. Like that's not an emergency. Don't go out to dinner, right? Suffer through it because you have to make sacrifices now. Dave Ramsey says all the time, if you can live and give, if you live like nobody else now, you're going to be able to live and give like nobody else in the future. Meaning that like if you can really restrict it down and do things right at this moment, then you're going to have this long-term freedom that most other people don't have. So when we looked at our budget, we started from scratch. We literally categorized our expenses by true needs and then wants. So everything that we're spending right now, here's what we absolutely have to have, and here's what we want. And then from there, we divided the needs and we put those as set versus flexible. So basically, our mortgage every month, that's set. We don't get to change that. But then you also have our groceries where it's like, okay, well, we need groceries, but maybe we don't need all of these groceries? What can we do to decrease what we're spending in groceries, to, dial it back a little bit? Maybe we're not quite having as much fun. We're not buying all the nice little things, but we still have to put food on the table. We then skimmed down our budget based on all the bare minimums as if I had lost my job. I basically told Libby, I was like, and this was a conversation over a couple of weeks. I didn't just come home one day and was like, we need a budget and figure this out. We had already been chewing on this for a while, and we made these decisions together. But we basically looked at it as like, okay, if I lost my job right now, what would our budget look like? Like, obviously, we have to keep the lights on, we have to pay for the mortgage, but what would we cut in order to survive while we were trying to find like a new job? Let's say I got paid less. What would be the absolute minimum I'd have to get paid? Really figuring that out and getting that taken care of. Not having the debt hanging over this really helped us get a far way in that. You know what? It took us like 7 months to pay off our debt. And whenever I sold my truck, I was able to get a good amount of cash out of that, and that really helped. But maybe for you guys, it takes you a year or 2 years or a couple years to pay off your debt. That's totally okay. Get that cloud of debt, get out from under it, the consumer debt, and then you can then begin to build, right? But it's going to be really tough to build while you're under the cloud of consumer debt. So finally, we looked at our wants, assuming that every dollar that we spent was $3 lost, because we're basically assuming like everybody knows we're starting at the tax sales. My goal is to basically 3x my money. And it's not going to be like tons of money we're 3xing, but to 3x every dollar that I put in. And so we're basically saying for everything else that we add back into the budget, for every $1 spent, we're going to actually say, that's $3 spent, because we're going to lose $3 because we're not going to be able to put that into the investments, right? And so for us, our kiddos, they go to Mommy's Day Out. That costs $350 a month. So now that Mommy's Day Out costs $1,050 per month in our mind. Ouch, right? Like, that's not $350. So basically the question was, are we willing to pay $1,050 per month for that time for the kids to be at Mommy's Day Out while Libby gets to just rest and recuperate? For us, that made sense, right? But here's another example. Our grocery budget had become pretty bougie as we progress in our health and wealth journeys, to the tune of $1,600 per month. And when you 3x that, we're now paying $4,800 per month. Absolutely no way. That's way too expensive, right? So our grocery budget is now cut in half. So what I know is that 2024 is going to be an amazing year of growth with the help of the Lord. I mean, I absolutely just know it, but it's because of mindset, right? Our mind's in the right place. Over the last few years, I've built up an education. Over the last few years, we've gotten out of debt. We've gotten right. Libby and I have gotten on the same page about some stuff. I love the Robert Kiyosaki cash flow board game. Libby and I have played that through multiple times together now, and she really understands the investing mindset in a way that she hadn't before, and so she's really on board with me. But it also let me see, hey, here's the kind of decisions that you can make for long-term success, and then here's the decisions that you can make where it's like short-term success but long-term failure, because it puts you in a shaky spot, and really helped me to play the game over and over and over and over. So now that I'm going to play it in real life over a longer period of time, I have reassured myself of, this is the way you play the game and it works, and all these other ways is the way that you play the game and it doesn't work. So I'm going to play the game in the way that works. And so basically I had this conversation with Libby, and this was last night, the night before. And I heard this analogy about Belgian horses, and I might get the numbers a little bit wrong, but the principle is there. And basically it was saying that a single Belgian horse, these horses, they're massive and they're like the workhorse. Back in the day, they were on every single farm. They pulled all the wagons like they were the horse, any of these draft horses or anything like that. Anyways, a single one can pull about 12,000 pound load. So then he asked the audience, he said, how much do you think 2 Belgian horses can pull? And everybody said 24,000 pounds. And he goes, yeah, your math's right. You would think it would be 24,000, but it's not. 2 Belgian horses can actually pull 36,000 pounds. 2 Belgian horses that don't know each other can pull 36,000 pounds. They can pull, 2 Belgian horses can pull what together can pull what 3 can pull alone, singularly, right? And he said the reason is because now they're fighting for a place of dominance. They don't want the other one to get ahead of them, and so they're constantly in this battle to get ahead. But one of the most powerful parts of the Belgian horse story is that whenever you have 2 Belgian horses that have been trained from a young age to work together, and they know how to pull that load together, those 2 Belgian horses can actually pull 48 2,000 pounds. Two Belgian horses who understand how to pull a load smoothly, well, and together instead of fighting each other, moving in harmony and unison, can together pull the load that it would take four horses to pull singularly. Two can do together. And so Libby and I have a new phrase around our home, and that is I need you to pull the 48 with me. And what that means is I need you to come in at this moment and give it your all. Give it your umph. And I need you to go all in with me. And we don't need to fight about this. We have to be in unison and we have to be in harmony. So with our kids, hey, I need you to pull the 48 with me on this. With our kids, hey, with the finances, I need you to pull your 48 with me on spending. That's more for me. I'm the spender, not Libby. I always want to let the record reflect that because everybody always thinks it's the woman. In our relationship, it's me. I'm totally the spender. So she needs me to pull the 48 with her. But then also in taking right steps in investing, I need her to pull the 48 with me because I don't want to make the decision alone. I don't want to be fighting her. I know we can pull more together, right? So we need to pull the 48 together. Lastly, I want to share with you guys a conversation I had with my mom this week. Tiffany, we had a really cool conversation. She was talking about, we got to go on, just hang out, her and I, and have a date. And anyways, basically, when we were talking about 2024 goals, because this is kind of the time to be thinking about goals, because a goal I believe that you're creating for 2024 isn't something that you create like, on the last day of December, right after Christmas, and you're thinking like, oh, what do I want to do? Like a goal is something you've been thinking on for a while. Like one of Libby and my goals for 2024 is that we're going to take the girls out on consistent dates, our daughters. We've been talking about that goal for 8 weeks, or probably by the time we get to the end of the year, we'll probably have been talking about that goal for at least 3 months or so. Really, we started talking about goals for 2024 in August. Hey, we're doing really, really good on our goals for 23. That was getting through having another baby and all that kind of stuff. So now really the conversation has been, hey, life's getting more steady, life's getting more normal. What are our goals for 2024 going to be? We obviously, you guys know a lot of our financial goals, but one of our other goals is taking our girls out on dates and stuff like that. So I'm already really thinking about those goals. And when I set a goal, I mean it. I'm not giving up on that goal by January 7th. Like that is going to be my goal for that year. And I want to step up onto the ceiling of 2023 and now make it my floor in 2024 and see how far I can go. So with that said, I asked my mom, hey, what's your goals for, 2024? And one of the things she mentioned was making more income. And it was interesting because my mom's a super smart lady. If you ever get to know her, she taught chemistry at some colleges around here. One of them being UTA. She worked in a research lab. She ran a research lab. She's a really smart person in chemistry and way smarter than I am. And we're smart in different ways. She works for a company now as a scientist. Very, very, very smart person. And she's like, yeah, I think I might make soap and sell it, part-time, like, sell it at like craft fairs and stuff like that, make a couple extra $100 here and there. And I stopped her and I was like, hey, do you feel passionate about soap? Because, if she felt passionate about soap, that's one thing. Then it's like, hey, go for it. Do you feel passionate about it or do you just know how to do it? And she's like, well, I just know how to do it. And I think I can make easy money doing it and stuff like that. And start talking. I was like, oh, I'm going to pause you. And I said, hey, you are passionate about teaching people. She is. And she agreed. She said, yeah, I'm passionate. I was like, and you're passionate about chemistry. You're really good at it. You need to be teaching people something about chemistry. And anyways, through that conversation, we realized that, like, she could be the expert in chromatography. And for me, I really, at this point, thought about Andy Elliott, and I was like, man, like Andy Elliott as a sales guy, as an expert sales guy, wanting to build up, his stance in the market as an expert sales guy. He said that the first year he would literally record a video every single day for the first year that he was in business, making nothing. All these videos he was putting out there for free on YouTube and just built up traction. So I told her about that. I was like, look, he put together like 10 to 20-minute videos. They were all free and everything was just on these different topics. And I was like, you should grow and thrive where you're planted. And that is how I told her, I was like, you could become the absolute expert. And, at the end of the day, we realized it was chromatography, which I couldn't even exactly tell you what chromatography is, but you could become the leading expert in chromatography stuff. And who knows where that could take you if you just gave it a year or two of like discipline and dedication. And it's funny because the first thing she was like, well, yeah, but I just don't know how to put together the videos. I'm worried about this and that. I paused her and it's like, hey, have you ever watched any of the episodes of the Wealthy Legacy Journey? Like, to be honest with you guys, I'm probably talking to myself right now. I think most people watch these videos for like 5 minutes or something like that, is what it says on YouTube. Like, I doubt anybody's even going to ever watch this content that I'm putting out there right now. But what I do know is that hopefully, if I keep recording these long enough, I'll get better and better, and I'll gain a more dedicated audience who wants to hear me. And I get better at communicating what I'm trying to say. And so I get easier to listen to and easier to retain people on for the whole video. And I'm just going to become better. But that's me trying to grow and thrive where I'm planted, right? My mom isn't necessarily planted in the soap business. Now she's passionate about that and she wants to make a move. That's one thing. But she's already in a spot where she's passionate about what she does. So it's just like grow and thrive where you're planted right now. And so she's going to do that, and I think she's actually going to take off on that series, and I have a feeling she'll do very, very well. And I'm very excited for her. But it made me just realize, like, kind of the thing that I wanted to close with for all of you guys thinking about, 2024 goals is, where are you currently planted? And do you love where you're currently planted? And if you, and I guess I mean the space, right? I don't love what I'm doing right now for my job, but I love the space of investing. And I love real estate whenever it's done, whenever I can be, a free bird on it. I don't necessarily enjoy working underneath somebody else. I enjoy working with other people. I love working with a team. I've really enjoyed JVs that I've gotten joint ventures and stuff I've gotten to do in the past, but I don't really love working underneath somebody. And I've learned that, and that's totally okay. Some people do enjoy working underneath somebody, and that's totally okay too. For me, I don't, but I still love the general space that I'm in. So, how can I grow and thrive where I'm planted in real estate? How can I grow and thrive in what I'm doing right now with Algorithmos? Right where I'm planted right now. Try to, instead of trying to, at least for me, like, I think the struggle was I don't enjoy exactly what I'm doing right now. So I'm going to completely transplant myself to another area. But then it's like now my roots have to completely restart. And it's very painful. If you ever watch like how difficult it is to transplant a plant, it's difficult on the plant, right? So what if instead your roots can just take maybe a little bit of a different path to get to a different destination, but you can still tap in right where you're at, and then you can grow up stronger, better, and you can thrive, and you can produce your own fruit in the area that you're in. So I guess that would be kind of my closing thought for 2024 is, make sure you're setting goals, like real goals that you're going to live out. And I would really challenge you guys to figure out a way on how you can grow and thrive exactly where you're planted. With that said, I just want to remind you guys to go down in the description for the Google Docs. There's a link to some of the books and resources and stuff. I'm trying to get through. I'm trying to finish my book, Good to Great by Jim Collins. It's been an excellent book, but life has just been like boom, boom, boom lately. And so it's been tough, but it's still a goal. And I still am going to finish that. It's my second book to read. I'm trying to become a reader because I know that readers are leaders. And it's another one of those things that I've been told that I'm just going to take as the gospel, and I'm just going to believe it, and I'm going to go for it. And so I'm trying to implement that in my own life. And I'm sure you guys struggle with some of those stuff too. So I appreciate your grace, and I know I'm going to finish that book, and I know I'm going to eventually get a report out to you guys on that book, and then I'm going to go to my next book, and I'm just going to become better and better and better at that habit. But go down to the Google Docs to get those resources. And also, I would really appreciate it if you guys want to like the video, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, subscribe to the podcast. If you guys ever have any comments of just like, hey, I enjoyed this, or hey, you might want to work on this, and just like, I mean, obviously positive comments are nice, but what is it? Constructive criticism is really healthy too, to help me figure out how can I get better for you guys on what I'm doing. And so anyways, don't be a bully, please. But if you have some really healthy, constructive criticism of like, hey, here's what I feel like you're doing well, and here's some things that you might want to work on, I'll definitely take that to the bank and figure out how I can become better for you guys. Because everything I want to do, I want to take those strong steps forward. I want to improve my quality of what I'm doing. And I guess for my kids, because this really is for my kids, I just want you to know right now that in the journey that you're on, if you're trying to build wealth and a legacy from the ground up, because As you know, dad doesn't give handouts. It's difficult, and it's gonna rattle your brain. And there's gonna be days where you think you'll never get to the finish line, and you feel like it's never gonna be worth it. But right now, Liliana, you're 4. I didn't think I was gonna cry. Uh, Liberty, you're 2.5, and KB, you're 6 months. I know I'm gonna have other kids, and because I'm crazy, but I also love my kids. Why? Um, y'all are my legacy. So even in all the busy of everything that you've got going on, and you're trying to build this, I love your mama. I love Libby so much, and I wouldn't want to do this journey without her. So I do my best not to treat her like crap, but instead treat her like the gem and the flower that she is, and to protect her and to cultivate her and to care for her in all the ways that I can and should as a husband. Um, and for you kids, I want you guys to know that I treasure y'all, and in your journeys of trying to build something spectacular and amazing, which I believe that every single one of you will in your own unique ways. It doesn't have to look like dad's way. It'll look like your way. It'll look like the way that God has for you, and that's okay. But don't forget about the most important things in life. Don't forget to stop and smell the roses, because life is a marathon, it's not a sprint. If you try to sprint this thing out, you will burn out. And I've been really close to that point many, many times. But get a lot of counsel from older, wiser people, because they'll help keep you grounded. Listen to your helpmeet in life. For me, it's your mom, it's Libby. She keeps me grounded. We always say all the time, she is the string that holds me to the ground, and I am the kite that lifts her to the sky. Right? But without the string, the kite would just flutter off and fall to the ground. Right? But without the kite, the string would never be able to get up off the ground. The kite can't get up off the ground without the string, and the string can't get up off the ground without the kite. They need each other, but they perform different roles and functions, and it's beautiful. And so, pick the right person. When God's going to lead you the right one. Make this life worth it. You don't know how many days you've got, so make it count. Every day, get out there. Don't be afraid to swing and miss, but be afraid to not get off the bench and to sit back and regret how you spent your life and end up with a bunch of what ifs. And nothing scares me more than ending up with a bunch of what ifs. And that's why I'm so driven. I want to live my life to the fullest, and I want to live a life that at the end of the day, when the Lord calls me home, I'm proud of. So I would just challenge you to live a life that you're proud of. And there's this really cool song that I like to listen to sometimes. And it's called What If. I want to make sure I know who it's by. It is What If by Matthew West. And it's a really cool song. I'd look it up and check it out. But I don't know. I love you guys. I love everybody. Anybody listening to this. This has gotten a little personal. But I believe in you. For my kids watching this, I absolutely believe in you too. I've got this. You've got this. I know it's hard. I know it's hard because I'm going through the hard right now, and it sucks sometimes. But the reward on the other side is going to be amazing. And there's going to come a day in a year or two from now where I go back and I watch this video or any of these videos in this time, and I remember, wow, look how far I've come. And there could come a time when my kids are my age, y'all are watching this video and going, wow, that's where dad started. But there's no shortcut in life to a place worth going. So I looked for a shortcut for a long time and realized there isn't one. It's just going to take dedication and discipline and the journey. And that is what the wealthy legacy journey is. So with all that said, I'm excited to see where y'all's wealthy legacy journey goes. for anybody, my kids or anybody else watching this, please tell me where your wealthy legacy journey is at and where it's going. I don't do this for the money. I do this because I care about the people. I want to be invested in people's lives. I love this stuff. But what makes it more fun is doing it together. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I believe in that. I want to go far. That means I got to go together. So I'm excited that you joined me in this journey. I'm excited about my journey. I'm really excited about your journey. Um, and that's just another episode of the Wealthy Legacy Journey that is truly dedicated to you and your own personal wealthy legacy journey. So get out there, live a life of purpose, live every day on purpose, and make it count. It was awesome seeing you guys, and I'll see y'all on the next episode of the Wealthy Legacy Journey. See you guys.